Hello, I'm Tess. I'm a counsellor in private practice in Melbourne and I specialise in relationship counselling. So if you're watching this video, I guess you maybe want to know a little bit more about me and my practice, or perhaps you just want to know about counselling. I mean, what is counselling? How does counselling work? What happens in the counselling room? I'm going to try and answer some of those questions using visual metaphor. I'll often use drawing with my clients to help them capture a concept or remember a strategy. A client comes to counselling. Let's call her Jess. Jess, who is in great distress on her mountain. She tells me she's already seen a lot of counsellors because Jess had a rocky, traumatic childhood on her mountain. But Jess doesn't want to talk about her childhood. Her family thinks it's time she got over it, and she thinks it's time to let it go too. She just wants to forget about it all. What Jess wants to talk about now is the rarefied air of her present relationship. Jess says she seems to only choose partners who have anger issues. And when they get angry, Jess feels like she disappears. She feels controlled. She feels lost, alone, and hurt, just like she felt through a lot of her childhood. Jess feels so confused. Why does she keep choosing angry partners? She had enough of that in her childhood. It might be confusing for Jess, who is stuck on her mountain, but I can gain a much greater view and perspective of Jess's dilemma standing on my counsellor's mountain. I can see the pain and trauma of her childhood relationships and how that impacts on her present relationships. And I can see where Jess really wants to head to. So together, Jess and I decide on the type of counselling therapies that will help her begin to calm her constant feeling of anxiety. Therapies that help Jess to nurture herself so that she can identify what she feels and feel okay with all those feelings. So that she can then share her needs. So that she can meet them or someone else can meet them. Jess is then empowered to choose partners who do not have anger issues, but can assertively hear Jess's feelings and respect her needs, creating the nurturing, loving relationship Jess always longed for. So that was Jess, who was really quite used to the counselling process. Now let's meet a new client. Let's call him Bill. Bill on his very lonely hill. Bill is terrified to talk too much about himself. He's really fearful about what I might think about him, how I might judge him. It took a lot of courage for Bill to walk through my counselling door. Bill has lots of feelings about not being good enough. You can see it's not so easy for me to gain a perspective of Bill when he has trouble revealing himself to others. Fortunately, I have this wonderful pair of wisdom binoculars. Binoculars that help me see with years of theoretical knowledge, an undergraduate degree and a postgraduate degree, with years of experience of sitting with other clients, and with the wisdom of my own lived experiences. These wisdom binoculars help me identify questions I can ask and therapies I can use that allow Bill to see that there's a lot more right about him than is wrong. And as we develop a nurturing therapeutic relationship together, Bill builds confidence and self-esteem and assertiveness skills that allow him to begin to share himself in relationships out of the counselling room. Bill is no longer so fearful of being acceptable to others, and he's definitely not so lonely. Now let's meet a couple coming for relationship counselling. This is Andrew. Andrew is very driven. He is diligently climbing to the top of his mountain. Andrew is so intent on his climb that he hasn't seen all the rocks and rubble and rubbish he's been dislodging and dumping down on his wife, Beck. Beck has found trying to keep up with Andrew's busy climbing direction simply too demanding. She's recently said, "This is too hard. I can't do this anymore." She still loves Andrew, but is exhausted and hurting, feeling like she no longer matters to Andrew. And that has both surprised Andrew and made him feel very angry because he thinks he's been doing all the right things a husband should do. From my vantage point on my counselling mountain and with my wisdom binoculars, I can see both Andrew's and Beck's perceptions of their marriage mountain. And I also notice Beck is looking at a mountain in the distance with a very nice man waving to her. The grass is definitely looking greener on that other mountain, and Beck can see a rather precarious rope bridge across it. It looks both inviting and terrifying at the same time. But before she crosses that bridge for good, I suggest that Beck and I have some individual sessions to help her feel a little less exhausted, a little less hurt from all the painful rocks Andrew has unknowingly been knocking down. And I suggest Andrew and I have a few sessions too, to help him feel less blame and shame about needing counselling on how to more happily climb his marriage mountain. And as Andrew begins to empathically hear and understands Beck's perspective from her side of the marriage mountain, Beck gains the strength to explore new cooperative mountaineering skills with Andrew to renew their relationship on their marriage mountain. So those are my visual metaphors for a few counselling scenarios, but of course we're all unique. We develop unique therapeutic relationships and we all have a unique experience of counselling.